They say you're too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But what if I told you you're not too much, you're just awake? In a world that numbs itself with distractions, your sensitivity is a rebellion, a quiet, persistent refusal to go numb. You feel everything. The tension in a room, the grief behind someone's forced smile, the weight of words left unspoken. And while that may feel like a burden, it's also your superpower. Most people build walls, you build bridges. Most people deflect pain. You absorb it, understand it, transform it. That isn't fragility. That's strength in its rawest, most honest form. But let's be real. It doesn't always feel like strength. It feels isolating. People treat you like you're too much to handle. They tell you to stop overthinking, to toughen up, to lighten up. But what they guarantee realize is that your depth makes them uncomfortable, not because you wrong, but because you remind them of everything they've buried. You don't perform. You don't play the role. You show up as you are, real, raw, present. And that's terrifying to people who've spent their lives pretending. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And that's exactly what happens when they meet someone like you. You walk into a room and the energy shifts. Not because you said something, but because you didn't. You didn't join the performance. You didn't smile for approval. You didn't fake interest in surface-level nonsense. Your presence alone disturbs the illusion, and people can feel that. Your silence carries truth. Your gaze sees beneath masks. Your stillness is louder than their noise. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment, and aligned energy. Real energy is disruptive to those still clinging to false identities. That's why some avoid eye contact, why they change the subject when things get real, why they talk louder around you, as if trying to drown out something they don't want to hear. You, on the other hand, hear everything. You sense what isn't being said. You feel the emotional residue in someone's tone. You catch the micro-expressions, the flickers of sadness behind laughter, the bitterness behind compliments. You carry an intuitive awareness that can't be taught, only lived. And that awareness often becomes a magnet. People come to you when they're lost, breaking down, falling apart. They say, "I don't know why I'm telling you this," and then spill secrets they've never said out loud. It's not an accident, it's your aura. You radiate safety, emotional depth, and presence. You embody the archetype of the healer, even if you never chose that role. But here's the painful truth. While you hold space for others, very few hold space for you. You absorb, you comfort, you listen, but rarely do people ask how you're really doing. You become the emotional container for everyone else, while your own heart goes unseen. This isn't just lonely, it's exhausting. It's like carrying water to a thirsty world with no one noticing you reparched too. And yet, you keep showing up, because that's who you are. You feel because you care. But caring doesn't mean breaking yourself to keep others whole. You deserve reciprocity, not just connection, but depth, honesty, and presence in return. You've likely noticed that some people open up to you and then vanish. They feel seen by you, and that's beautiful, but then they ghost. Not because you scared them, but because your presence awakened something they weren't ready to face. You didn't hurt them. You revealed them. And for people who've avoided themselves for years, that kind of clarity is overwhelming. Your energy isn't just light, it's a spotlight. And not everyone's ready for that illumination. They'll say, "You're too intense," when what they really mean is, "I'm not ready to be that honest." It's not rejection, it's retreat. And then there's this. You intimidate people, especially those in power, without trying. You enter a room and suddenly the loudest voices go quiet. Authority figures get defensive. Dominant personalities start stumbling. Why? Because you carry a calm sovereignty that doesn't beg, doesn't perform, doesn't compete. You're not easily impressed or controlled. You don't seek approval because you're already anchored. Jung called this the energy of the integrated self, a rare state where someone embodies their inner power without needing to prove it. And that kind of energy shakes those who rely on status, control, or performance to feel powerful. And so, you become the villain in stories you didn't ask to be part of. You walk in with kindness, with calm, with truth. And somehow, you're too cold, too deep, too detached. They twist your stillness into arrogance, your honesty into harshness, your independence into rejection. But this is projection, a psychological defense mechanism where people place their unacknowledged flaws onto others. Jung believed this is one of the most destructive forces in human relationships, and people with strong, grounded energy become the most common targets because they reflect what others cannot admit: their own inner fragmentation. Despite all this, strangers are still drawn to you. In airports, coffee shops, grocery store lines, they start talking, confessing, connecting. They say, "I don't usually say this, but it's not random." Your soul has gravity. Jung called it numinous energy, a spiritual magnetism that speaks to the unconscious. It's not charm, it's not charisma. It's the quiet frequency of truth, depth, and presence. Your aura is like a lighthouse, not flashy, but impossible to ignore for those lost at sea. People don't know what they're drawn to, they just feel safe, like they've found something ancient and familiar. You can feel the energy in a room within seconds. You know when something's off? You can feel resentment hidden beneath politeness, tension under fake smiles, unspoken grief behind laughter. It's like having a sixth sense. Not magical, but deeply human. Jung called it psychological intuition, the unconscious ability to read between the lines of reality. But this sensitivity is double-edged. It gives you depth, but also makes you vulnerable to emotional overwhelm. You absorb so much that it's easy to forget what feelings are yours and what feelings belong to the room. That's why you crave solitude. Not to disconnect, but to return to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you've always felt like you don't fully belong here. Not in a dramatic way, but in a soul-deep knowing. Like you were dropped into this world with ancient eyes and a heart that speaks a different language. Even among friends, even in your own family, there's always been a sense of otherness. Not superiority, just difference. Jung believed that some souls are born with a calling, a deep inner pull toward transformation, depth, and truth. These souls often live at the edges of society. They ask questions that make others uncomfortable. They carry wisdom that doesn't fit the mainstream narrative. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to awaken. And awakening is rarely comfortable. It creates resistance, not just from the world, but from the people closest to you. Because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your depth reflects their avoidance. Your light exposes their shadows. You don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. You don't need to play small to keep the peace. You don't need to be less, just so others don't have to face more. You are not too sensitive. You are not too intense. You are not too much. You are exactly as you're meant to be. Awake, alive, feeling honest. And while your presence may unsettle some, it will awaken others. You are the mirror they didn't ask for, but the one their soul recognizes. You are the lighthouse they didn't expect to find, but can stop looking toward. So don't dim. Don't apologize. Don't fold yourself to fit into boxes that were never built for someone like you. You're not broken, you're rare. And rare things, they don't always get understood, but they're always needed.